as the COVID second wave continues, and as there are more restrictions imposed by various states, quite a lot of the brokerages have gone ahead and are cutting their GDP growth forecast for India. In fact, quite a lot of brokerages have already cut GDP forecast. It's been right from Barclays, Nomura to JP Morgan, and now it is Morgan Stanley. In fact, Morgan Stanley states that the second wave is likely to weigh on the overall growth expectations for the June quarter. Rapid surge in COVID-19 cases and imposition of local restrictions will lower the growth outlook for the June quarter. They're going ahead and lowering the FY22 GDP growth forecast to 11.5% from their earlier forecast of 12.1%. However, Morgan Stanley does state that they retain the view of cyclical recovery in the subsequent quarters, and they now expect GDP to decline marginally on a seasonally adjusted basis. In fact, Morgan Stanley also states that in terms of the RBI policy normalization, they expect the first lift in the repo rate in the quarter ending December 2021. So yes, besides of course that there is going to be impact in terms of the GDP growth expectations, at least for the June quarter, as we will have to wait and watch out for what happens next. We should also be watching out for RBI's commentary in terms of the impact of the COVID on the GDP, and also in terms of the timing of policy normalization. In fact, quite a lot of economists have gone ahead and cut India GDP growth forecast by anywhere between 0.5 to 1.5%. Barclays, in a very recent note, had stated that if current restrictions remain in place for 2 months, they estimate that this will reduce the nominal GDP as well as the real GDP, and they expect that if restrictions continue, the real GDP would come down by nearly around 0.2 percentage points. This is almost twice the impact that they had previously calculated. In fact, Nomura, in a very recent note, also highlighted that most of the high frequency indicators have already slowed between Jan to Feb versus where they were between September to December 2020 levels, and the second wave in most countries has been larger than the first wave. The number of cases in the second wave are at least 2 to 6x higher than the first wave. The spread in the cases in the second wave is driven by lower restrictions on movement versus the first wave, and mortality, in fact, should be the key factor to be watched out for. Nomura does think that the key factor would also be the number of hospitalizations and deaths, and unfortunately in India, with India